So thanks to all the floor poets for the first half, and now I introduce Sue Johns. I've known Sue for many, many years. In fact, I met her in Cornwall in the 1980s, so it all goes back a long way. Sue is a fine poet who grew up in Cornwall, moved to London some years ago and has been here ever since. She's now got a new collection coming out, a pamphlet which is being published by Palewell Press, and the launch of that is on the 20th of April. And if you ask Sue, she'll give you the details of that if you'd like to come along. And it's called Rented, Poems on Prostitution and Dependency. And so I'd like you to put your hands together and welcome Sue Johns.
Thank you, Patrick. And thanks to those of you who've braved the weather to come out this evening. And it's wonderful to be reading here at Dodo with Bob, who I've known since the dark ages, and who gave me, if not my first, probably one of my first ever poetry gigs. He's also responsible for me meeting Patrick Unane. I've never quite forgiven you for that, Bob.
Me too.
You know, he knows I'm only joking. He knows I'm only joking. So I think everyone here is pretty familiar with Cornwall. So I don't expect there's anybody in the room who's not familiar with the expression "doing something directly." Everyone, right? So thank goodness for that. I don't have to explain what that means. And this first poem is simply called Cornwall. Cornwall, take me, lay me as a page of troubled history. Mark my skin with a word of reason taken from a song of Cornwall. Lead me from a dream of plenty, where the stars are hidden, where they talk in riddles, where they steal the sun. Cornwall, take me, and I don't mean directly. Enter me as a hasty lover, scold me as a mother with hand on hip, and flip the coin over. Cornwall, fill my eyes with birds and water, hold me constant as an ancient stone, flood the hollow of an empty mine, slow my breathing down to sea time. Take me home. This poem was written about the storms that Cornwall had in 2014, which caused a lot of damage, including cutting off the railway at Dawlish for a few months. Not everybody in Cornwall was particularly worried about that, I don't think. So it's about that, and but I've also managed to weave a little bit of a love story into this as well, and it's called Wet Paint. I want to capture the storm in oils, Geoffrey, retired seaman and artist. Oh no, no Jeannie, model student and love interest, who brings him heavy cake, still warm in the tin. He has a vision of her, washed up at low bar, bloated and pale, with one shoe and no knickers. 'Tis dangerous, my love. They've lifted the boats. I must insist you stick to still life until this blows over. At the Mount, it's a Black Flag Day. The harbour master curses the elements that have crushed the work of giants. A crushed giant finishes his dinner at the Newlyn Mission. It boards up its eyes as he heads for the Sawdy, nets a shoal of rum and shrubs, and as awash as the bulks takes on Paul Hill at the mercy of the weather. Down road, they're watching Dawlish on the news, joking that the damage should have happened further down, settling for semi-isolation, albeit with Devoners, agreeing that climate change is all the fault of foreigners and channel hopping for anything on Nigel Farage. As the jet stream weakens and the rain rides up country, the painters of Port Leven are easeled from the terraces. captured what you can name from memory, ladies, and then frame it for your own protection. Aquamarine for a missing crabber, a crimson buoy for focus. But I've so many beaches and harbours, Geoffrey. Can we not master the waters beyond? If there's two things I fear in this life, Jeannie, 'tis shop-bought bacon and an artist too far out at sea. So the next two poems are both in the new pamphlet, which I'm very excited to have coming out with Pale Press on the 20th of April. They're also both poems that were involved in a collaboration I did with a visual artist called Lorraine Clark. And if you'd like to see the art side of that, I've got the programme with me if anyone would like to have a look at it. The first one of those was originally inspired by a place called Crossbones Cemetery. It's a medieval cemetery on the south bank, and part of it has been unearthed. And there are vigils held there every month, because it was originally put there to bury prostitutes. And they were called the Winchester Geese because the Bishop of Winchester had jurisdiction over that part of the Thames, and he allowed the brothels to continue as long as he got the rent. But the vigils they have there now are for the prostitutes buried there and for current day prostitutes as well. And this is the goose, the ghost, and the man. The clink was my manor, where I still reside with the whores, the Winchester geese, the paupers, the dispossessed. In the still of a 21st century Sunday, to the rattling of trains, in the shadow of the shard, through the countless skulls and syphilitic bones, it is, as goose, I rise. Not a bird, fattened in the cloisters, destined for a Christmas plate. I am heroine chic, supermodel thin, as I slip through the red gates. I caress its ribbons, its poems, its tiny bears, a shrine to the working girls, homespun and trafficked. From my sisters of the past, to those who trade on the pavements of London, Birmingham, Nottingham, snuffed out like the candles nestling in the weeds. They will burn again as the stones are turned to beating organs. I honk and glide over the rooftops, the narrow streets, no longer running with stinking waste, over the bishop's ruins whose coffers held the rent from the lodgings where I spread my legs, where people make a game of history at the Golden Hind gift shop, gloat at the gory prison where my mother fell to jail fever, over the cathedral where I whispered my unanswered prayers to St Mary Overy, over the market where I sold myself at Southwark Fair, the wharfs that knew mob rule, that rocked with music, pleasures of the flesh, now sterile boxes to steal the wealthy off. Hissing over the singing Thames, to the seats of government, law and finance, the old haunts of the father I never knew. I seek a certain type of gentleman. Enter the safe sleep of lawyer, judge, stockbroker, priest. In dreams they wrestle me in my room at the Anchor, their portly bodies enfolded in my wings, with a scratching in their groins. They awake on feather pillows beside their cold and tidy wives. Dress to face an innocent morning, soap me from their shiny skins, in hangman-type ties, mildly harassed by the half-digested grass upon the stairs. They pause in doorways, prepare to stride their importance into the light. Before I launch, take flight to Crossbones. Their feet embed themselves in my excrement. With a final twist of my elegant white neck, I rip through expensive shoe leather and peck at their adulterous heels. That's a tall revenge poem. And the next one is set in London, probably sort of late 40s, early 50s. It was inspired by this piece of artwork, but you probably can't see that, but please do come and have a look at it in the interval. And it's called The Dancer's Choice. She was pliés and poses, applause and Tchaikovsky, pas de chat, sleeping beauty. Chocolates and bouquets outside the opera house, always on point for gentlemen callers. Post-war chic, Piccadilly, Mayfair, but one small slip and something's missing. Counting the weeks, squeezed in a costume, pas de cheval, sleeping beauty. She knows someone, who knows someone, not telling anyone, getting it fixed. But inside Aurora, another ballerina is already cast as the lilac fairy. Her steps are perfect, piqué, piqué. Aurora doubles over, away from the bar, arabesque and wretch. With the dilation, they'll expose the little dancer, cauterizing her pirouette. Down in the basement is the shell-shocked assistant, a perfectly recruited victim of the trenches. He'll never speak of the baby protégé, writhing in the gore, gauzed in lavender, right on cue, rising from the sluices and leaving the sink with a grand jeté. One more in this half. So my most recent project after the publication of Rented is another sequence of poems all inspired by trains. And a lot of them are about the history of the first trains in the UK. And there was a lot of opposition to trains when they first started to be next in train travel. And somebody who was very much against them was William Wordsworth. He didn't want working class oiks coming up to the Lake District and spoiling the countryside. So this is the Nature Poets. A vivid perception of romantic scenery is neither inherent in mankind nor a necessary consequence of even a comprehensive education. William Wordsworth. They started it, those romantics, objecting to trains and writing us out of their lakes and mountains, inaccessible by foot, a day or more by stagecoach. Our sordid hearts, out of tune with the natural world, were kept out of its reach. But enter we did, the urban workforce. And now, on trains, they come to us, the nature poets. Drawn to the metropolis by prestige and prizes, they come to us, all wild hair and natural fibres, filling our heads with dead birds, charming worms from our floorboards and wringing raindrops from our very breath. How shall we care for them? With the last train back to sublimity gone, are they safe to stride out with their capes rising against the neon? They cannot travel underground, with nothing to inspire them but sooty vermin, with their straight backs slumping in our soft chairs. How shall we care for them? We will give them beverages distilled from orchard fruit. We will spin our city's smog into gossamer, wrap them with our reverence and taxi, the nature poets, to a billet within testimony's reach of a tree.
Great Sue John should be back in the second half.